Today's High Performance Podcast is brought to you by Josh Phegan Digital. It's where you'll find our revolutionary blueprint course. There's only one place that you can go from zero to hero over a weekend by watching the incredible blueprint. It's everything you'll need to be that $1 million agent. Prospecting, listing, negotiation, and growth. Broken up into short 15-minute pieces, skip to the content you need now or watch from the beginning to end. Only on Josh Phegan Digital. Welcome to High Performance, the podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Alexander Phillips. Alex, there's a really important conversation around focus versus awareness. And, you can be 100% focused on your competitors or you can be 100% focused on your customers. You can have awareness of what your customers are doing or you can have awareness on what your competitors are doing. And some people are absolutely obsessed about their competitors. And, you have kind of seen that in the past where, let's say, for example, Nike versus Reebok or even Apple versus Microsoft back in the day. And people would wake up wanting to be better than that. And maybe if you're not the number one agent in your market, you might be obsessed by the number one agency in your area because you're trying to see what they're doing to try to at least match and then hopefully raise. How important is it to understand whether or not you're going to be focusing on competitors versus customers to drive you to get more momentum inside of your career? And does it change, compared to when Alexander Phillips first started to when Alex Phillips today thinks about how the world works?
Yeah, hi Josh. I think there's a lot of agents out there that's what they're worried about, who they're competing against, and always trying to sort of talk down their competitors in some sort of way. I'm used to it. I've done it myself.
Yes.
I think everyone does it.
In the early days, it's probably your thing, right?
But I think you should look at it in a different way. What can you learn from that person?
Yes.
I know that all these podcasts we've done, what we're up to 500 or 600 or probably more. And the training I've done, I know people learn from that.
Then compete against you, probably.
And that probably makes them better. But that's good because it makes us better because we've got to get more ahead.
And you like to compete.
Yeah, so I think people look at it the wrong way, that you can use what is that person you compete against? What are they really good at? And learn from that. Not sort of use it in a way that you're jealous or bring them down. I think
maybe they've got amazing styling or they've got really good video or they're doing some really good stuff that a buyer said, this person's awesome because they told me to come to this house.
Yeah. So we obviously there's lots of competition in the eastern suburbs and we take snippets of what other people are doing and we use what they're doing. So there's people that we may be selling more and doing more, but they're better at other aspects than us, and we're taking them. We're taking that, and getting better. So that's how I would look at it. Use a competition to get better. Work out what they do, sit down with them, have coffees with them. Not so much study them, but use that into your own formula on how you're going to, list and sell yourself.
What I love about that is the constant process of evolution and seeing what is the best that people are actually doing out there in marketplace. If you see something that's going to make you better, then go and put that into your world. But it also leads us to the whole conversation is about you've got to have an idea about focus of what your market is. And I said to someone the other day, if you want to be the number one in your market, you need to tell me what does the number one already do. So if the number one, for example, does 21 sales a year, then you need to do 22 sales a year to be the number one in that market. So there's the goal. So how do we get to 22 sales in that marketplace to go to make that happen? And I think that's a really important thing because it's also then having awareness about, where does everyone then move to? And I think that the story of yours, the one that I tell in my brain is that, you started selling, some apartments for people in Bondi, and then later on they got more successful and they bought a small semi in Bondi, and later on they got more successful, then they bought a nice little house in Tamara, and then after that, then they went and bought the nicer house in Bronte, and if they did really well in life, they even bought the better home in Bronte, and then maybe they go and retire into Paddo. And I used to tell that story about this golden arch of, this is where you met them when they were single, this is where you met them when they'd coupled up, this is when they had their first child, this is when they had a couple of kids, this is then when ultimately the kids grown up and moved out, and this is then when they ultimately got to retire into that location. Is there a bit of an understanding of that? If you can see a logical trend where majority of your customers tend to flow, then obviously working at the end point can then help you to win all the stuff in between, and having a bit of a view that one day I've got to be good in Paddington to make sure I'm good in Bronte, to make sure I'm good in Tamo, to make sure I'm good in Bondi. And I know that you said to me, you got to start in the market where you want to end up. And I think that's kind of to then reverse back to where there's more volume and more transactional capabilities, right? Yeah,
definitely. And I think when you talk about that, it's we're selling one at the moment where I've sold 5 properties from 1 million up to 5 million. Now I'm selling his daughter's unit for 1.5 million.
Yes.
So it's because then you spread into the next generation.
Yeah,
if you stay relevant as well, and you're not pigeonholed into a certain price point or suburb, that's what we've been lucky to do.
I bet you that if I went to Alexander Phillips day one, you never had a view that you'd do it for 30 years.
No,
but you just kept on doing it, and you love the sport. But you're actually going up with the client base, and there's more transactional volume that's coming from that.